Can you please start by telling us the objective of IIGCC and why investors should be supporting your work?
Yes. So the IIGCC is a group which is now of 83 investors, European investors, that is concerned about climate change. And it brings together these investors, it creates a platform for these investors to exchange knowledge and to form also, to have a more concentrated dialogue with policymakers. And also to have an ability to express to companies what it is that investors would like to know about how they manage climate risk.
Mm. What would you say is the current level of awareness among investors on climate change?
I think that the current level of investors is about climate change is fairly high, and that there are many investors that are concerned about the long-term effects of climate change and sort of shorter-term absence of clear guidance. So I think that the level of knowledge of climate change is high. The question how to integrate that into investment decisions is more difficult.
So what should investors be doing about climate change and resource constraints in the absence of regulatory input?
In many regions, there is very clearly policy that is implemented and that gets more stringent year on year on year. We also know that changes in energy policy or changes in climate policy, even relatively minor changes, already have a big impact on energy markets, global energy markets. So the emergence of the shale gas, that's driven by technology change, but also the emergence of air emissions for coal-fired power stations has led to big changes in the global energy market, where now coal is exported to Europe and where we see US moving over to gas. In Europe, we see that the build-out of renewable energy capacity and the implementation of the Energy Efficiency Directive is really putting a lot of pressure on the business strategy of utility plants, utility and power plants in Europe. Investors should no longer have in mind a business as usual scenario where the energy demand keeps on growing, but that they should also consider that there might be a continuation of policy from climate change and energy efficiency and air emissions, and take in consideration more bearish scenarios for oil and coal demand.
Now you're also working at the APG Asset Management as the Senior Sustainability Specialist.
Yeah.
Can you please tell us a little about your role there?
Well, APG Asset Management is a large manager for pension funds. We have a long-term view. Our clients ask of us that we implement a responsible investment policy, but they also ask in the same time that we keep on getting good returns to keep the pensions affordable. So it is our role to work on a good and affordable pension, but to do that in a responsible way. Now we think that by making investment decisions taking into consideration environmental, social and corporate governance factors, we can actually reduce the risk or improve the returns. So my main job is to work with portfolio managers and identify what are the ESG issues in your sector and how are they relevant for your investment decisions, and then providing the portfolio managers with the right information so that they can start to take over the responsibility to integrate ESG issues into their investment decisions.
So do you see ESG integration gradually mainstreaming?
I think in our organization we are mainstreaming ESG. We're not a niche SRI fund. We apply our responsible investment policy to all of our 330 billion of assets under management. And so for us it's all about mainstreaming. That also means that ESG is one of the elements that plays a role in an investment decision. It is not always the decisive factor, but it is always an important factor.